chug, 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 chug,
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Wizard Staff Podcast. I'm your host, Blake.
And I'm Guy.
And we are two drunk novices who like to talk about EDH. We do drink and swear, so you've been warned. Please drink responsibly when playing children's card games. Tonight, we are going to be discussing some events that Guy and I have been to within recent history, and kind of just talk about our experiences there playing Commander, and have a nice time kind of figuring out how our experiences were, how they compare to each other, and maybe see what we can expect the future of Commander events to be. But before all of that, Guy, what are we drinking?
Well, I'm drinking Guinness. I feel like I haven't had Guinness for a long time on the podcast. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm so proud of you.
Yeah. And I was just kind of looking in the fridge because I got back from work and I was like, hopefully I have something. And I see right in the back in the corner just a couple bottles of Guinness, and I'm like, you know what? Let's pull one out. And it is still as smooth and as nitrogenated as a Guinness comes.
Yeah, it actually has been a while for you. I'm glad that it's just a solid one. Yeah, if I go out somewhere new and I'm like, I don't know what your crazy drinks are, I'm going to start with a Guinness.
Yeah.
And then try one of these drinks that I've never heard of before, just start off right.
Just to kind of get into it a little bit, but so for Guinness, it is kind of the drink that I will also most commonly default to if I go out, have a drink with some friends. And so recently, the event I'm talking about at least is the San Diego Comic-Con 2022. And I went out with some of my coworkers and I was like, hey, can I get a Guinness? And we were at somewhere called the Tequila Bar. So they go, okay, we'll go get that for you. They come back 5 minutes later and they're like, we don't have it. But we have these two beers. And she hands them to me. And it's loud. It's foggy because they have a fog machine. They have a live band. And I just look at the two. And I'm like, neither of these are... I can't really say this to her because of the noise. But I'm just thinking, neither of these are like a Guinness at all. So I just hand one back and I'm like, I'll just take this. And it tasted, nothing like a Guinness. And I don't even remember what it was, but it was just kind of okay.
Oh, that's so good. I love that.
What are you drinking, Blake?
Well, I stopped off and picked up a 4-pack of this IPA. It's a very colorful label. It's like a painting, and very little bits of it are actually the health information and it's just an IPA. That's all I can really gather from it. It was brewed in West Ave of Seattle, and that's all I can really tell from this label.
Nice.
It's good.
I feel like most of the time whenever you bring a new beer onto the podcast, it is somewhere local to your state.
I'm trying to do that more often.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot here on the West Coast. And upper Pacific Northwest, I should say.
Oh, for sure. All right.
I'm excited about this because we haven't actually talked much about our respective events that we attended. I went to Commandfest Bellevue, and I haven't actually heard much about your San Diego Comic-Con experience. So please share.
Yeah, so we're just kind of each sharing our experiences at these different events we went to. I'm going to go first because honestly, it was the magic. Okay, so the magic side of things, not so great. But I'll just kind of talk about San Diego Comic-Con in general. Yeah. It was my first time going, and I've heard a lot about it, mainly through, just being a nerd and getting to see all the cool things that drop. I was there for work, so I didn't get to walk around nearly as much as one would if they attended. And the way that it worked for all the employees at our booth was every day there would be 2 to 3 people who could take a half day. So I think everyone at least got 1 half day, and then everyone else had to work full days. My half day lined up perfectly where I could go play Commander at about 5:30. So I was like, cool, when I'm done with my work day, I'll go get to play some Commander for a bit, maybe make some friends, have a good time. What actually happened is, so I get off and I go back to a hotel room and I chill. I'm getting ready, I take a shower, I'm like, okay, getting all my stuff ready. I brought 2 decks. I brought Perforos and Avacyn, the classics.
All right. Yeah.
And so I walk out of my hotel, and as I'm looking for where it is, I find out that it's on literally the entire other side of the convention center. So I have to walk almost a mile. It was pretty far. And I entered in the wrong place at the first time, and I'm not 100% sure on this, but I think when I entered into the wrong space looking for the Commander event, I saw Phil Lamar, who, if you don't know who that is the voice of Samurai Jack. That's probably his most notable role that I could think of at the top of my head. He is a pretty prominent voice actor, so he's been in a lot of things, but I'm pretty sure Samurai Jack would probably be his most notable role. And so I see him, and I'm like, I'm not going to bother him. I'm way too nervous. And if I'm wrong, oh my god. So that amounted to nothing. Though I did get to meet several celebrities through just working at the booth that I was at. We got to meet Gabriel Iglesias. We got to meet Bella Porch. Oh my god, what's the one guy from... this is... Oh, Dan Fogler, who... The most notable role I know him from is he's in the Fantastic Beasts movie. He's also, I guess, the guy who starred in Balls of Fury. Now that I'm looking, I'm like, oh yeah, that was him.
Was a movie.
It was a movie. I liked it as a kid. But yeah. So, okay. No more tangents right now. So I show up, I pay my $10, and I'm like, okay, what do I do? And they're like, oh, just go sit over there and, wait for us to call you. And so I go sit. They gave me 2 cards. In the notes that I have written here, it says, I received a Nithgos Shrine to Nyx in a pack leader promo. That is not correct at all. Because I was looking at the cards the other day as just what did I actually get? I got Path to Ancestry, which, if you don't know, is a land, enters the battlefield tap, add a mana of any color to your commander's color identity, scry 1 if it shares... if you cast a creature spell, scry 1 if it shares a creature type with the card, if it shares a creature type. So, I got that. I just mistakenly thought it was something else. And then the other card, I think I got... Yeah, see, I'm now trying to look for the cards. I'm not using these cards, so I'm pretty sure I just kind of
Did you throw them away?
Somewhere. I did not throw them away. But was it Pack Leader? Is that a card? No. Well, I know it came out in the most recent Innistrad set, so I will figure that out later. Anyway, so I'm sitting, I'm waiting. There's people who are just kind of playing draft, and so about 10 minutes later they call us over and they're like, okay, who's playing Commander? So about, I'd say 40 of us get up, move over, and the guy's like, okay, who is playing a pre-con deck? And I think 5 hands shot up. And he's like, okay, you guys go over there, you play a game. Everyone else was playing a homebrew deck. And in order to split into pods, he would just randomly pick 4 of us. So I get paired into a group, and I sit down, and I'm up against a Kenrith the Returned King, Magda Brazen Outlaw, and Tassiger the Golden Fang. And since this is what I assume is the first game, I'm like, okay, I'll play Perforos. I think it's pretty cool. You know, I want to show off my altars, like, you know. So, from the beginning, it was pretty obvious that these decks were not meant to be played against each other. Because, first, Kenrith...
What do you mean, guy? How could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, so I kind of asked everyone what's, like, you know, their power level idea. Magda and Tassiger responded with, like, hi. The guy who was playing Kenrith was like, I'm kind of new, so, like, not 100% sure. And so we were like, no problem, if you have questions, just let us know. So, yeah. If, like, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna, if I were to rank them all, I would say Magda and Tassiger were probably like 9 to 10s. I was closer to like a 7 on the scale. And then Kenrith was more like a 4. So, yeah. They were definitely meant to be like play to win. So we kind of like sit down. The Magda player is about to like go off on like turn 3 and win. They just get out a bunch of like dwarves, and like they get about a bunch of dwarves, enough that like once they attack on their turn, they're gonna have 5 treasures. They're gonna get like a dragon or an artifact or something, and it's gonna be no bueno. So I have to like step in and like I cast Fury or something, and I just destroy all of his dwarves. During the middle of this too, the judge comes over and just hands us 6 coins. Each of them have a 10 on it. And he's like, 1 for each of you. The winner gets 2 more. And I'm like, cool.
Makes
sense. It's like the star chips from the first arc of Yu-Gi-Oh! Yeah.
Alright. And I assume that these coins can be redeemed for some sort of prize.
Well, I had no idea at the beginning. I was like, cool, okay, I wonder what we'll do with this afterwards. But yes, in the end, it was going to be used for some kind of prize. Okay, so our game lasted about 45 minutes. It ended pretty quickly once Tassiger got into a position with like Hullbreaker Horror and was just able to go off infinitely. The Magda player did its best to like try and keep him in check, but it just wasn't enough. So yeah, game done, and you know they get 2 more coins, and it's like cool. So are we playing another one? And they're like, what do you mean? It was a 1-game event, and I was like, really? That's it? Okay. And I'm just kind of looking around, and as I'm seeing like other games finishing up, people are just like walking away.
Okay,
so I guess
no one's staying to play more games.
Yeah, I guess the thing that I am just now kind of thinking about, but like if you're at San Diego Comic-Con and you're gonna like play Magic for 3 hours, that might not be the best because you might want to go see other things at San Diego Comic-Con, if you know what I mean.
That is a good point. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But I, who had been working all day, I was like, oh, I can't wait to play more Commander later. But I only got to play 1 game. So I took my chip, I went over to the prize table afterwards, and got a life tracker pad, because I didn't want any of the packs. You could normally buy, like, any standard set for 10 pieces. You could buy, like, a premium set for 2, or maybe it was 3. So that would have been like a double masters, commanders thing, something like that. But yeah, I got a notepad that I could like keep my life total or like take notes during games, which I thought was pretty cool. And I was like, okay. But yeah, you could also get like uncut sheets of cards. You could get some nice dice. But yeah, I would say like I entered 5:30, or probably a little before that, and then left by 7. And that was my time playing Magic at San Diego Comic-Con. Pretty lackluster.
Okay. And there weren't any more sort of commander events there.
Not
I mean, to be fair, it's not like a commander event, but
yeah. I think the other thing that I missed earlier in the day is that they were teaching people how to play commander. You would go, you could pay like $50 or something, and you would be able to pretty much get any commander deck from the last year. And then they kind of walked people through how to play Magic if you didn't know how to play Magic, and then the pre-con decks and like how to play Commander. Because I think that's why at the beginning they asked like who's playing a pre-con deck. That was meant for the people who had just learned. Because if you mixed in the people that had just started playing against, I don't know, maybe the person who built a Magda deck or a Tassiger deck, like it's not going to go well, and it's not going to be fun.
They never play again.
No.
God.
So I will say, like, overall, like, I think there could have been a couple of things done better, like if we had maybe better assessed at trying to like mitigate who's playing what. But you know, it also kind of falls into the problem of like, okay, I'm playing a 7. Oh, yeah, I'm playing a 7. And then everyone says they're playing a 7.
Yeah, there's that hurdle. And it sounds like another inherent hurdle is that there's just not that many people playing. And they each probably only have, probably like you, 1, maybe 2 decks at most, I am assuming.
Yes, that
yeah,
I believe is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Because like you don't want to carry that around in, especially also like a place like San Diego Comic-Con. It's just a lot. There's a lot going on. I think not that I would have been able to, but I'm not 100% sure because I would have needed to check on the days that I was still working. But it would have been nice if they had offered multiple days of being able to play Commander. But I don't know if that was the case. Like, if 5:30 every day, you know, come play Commander for an hour, that would have been cool. I wouldn't have been able to go every day, but at least, you know, if someone had gone and wanted to, like, relax at the end of the day by just playing some games, like, you know, that sounds pretty good.
Damn. So would you, if you were attending San Diego Comic-Con again, if you go back in time and you attend the event again, would you go? Is it even worth it?
No, not really.
Oh, fuck. Alright.
Yeah, I would have rather spent my time than probably going around San Diego Comic-Con, checking some stuff out. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do it again, but I am excited to hear more about your time, because it seems like you got to do a lot more, and this is like the kind of event that I would probably want to go to if I could.
Sure, yeah, I can talk about my experience. So, I went to Commandfest Bellevue. It was July 22nd through the 24th, so it was at, like, Bellevue, Washington. And it was from Friday through Sunday. And I'm just going to kind of give a little bit of information here, and then I'll talk about my experience. There were 3 packages you could choose. You could choose either like a day pass where you could just go for 1 day. You could get what I got, which is the 3-day like badge, and you could go Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then there was also the 3-day plus badge, which again you can go all 3 days. And then you could also attend the special like Commander event, and you got a few more promos and things in your swag bag. I didn't really need all that extra swag, and I didn't feel like the additional amount of money was worth going to that exclusive Commander event, just me personally, so I just got the 3-day badge. Another part of it was the health and safety aspect. So you did have to show proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test. And while you were there, you did have to wear a mask while you were indoors, which I appreciated because I have not got it yet and I don't want to get it as if I can help it. There were also some events that some of them I attended. It was nice because the badge that they give you, no matter what badge you have, it prints off like all of the events on the back. So you don't have to be checking your phone constantly. It just says it on the back of your schedule that's around your neck. There were also panels, so they had some like content creators and staff from Wizards of the Coast, and I attended a few of those, and I'll speak about that. There were vendors, there were special guests. Yeah, so let me actually just like get into like my perspective here. So it's Friday, I worked a full day, I'm really tired, but I'm like, all right, let's go to Commandfest. And so I drive after work to Bellevue. I arrive, I check in, show proof of vaccination, and they ask my name, and I get my badge, and then they ask for you to put, this time they had stickers. This was something new that was not present for Commandfest Seattle 2019, which I also went to. This time they had stickers, so you could choose from 3 types of power levels, quote unquote. You could choose like challenging, so there's competitive, like as in CEDH, competitive EDH. Then a step below that is like challenging is how they labeled it, where it's like a semi-strong commander deck. And then the third like level was labeled like casual. So I chose the competitive and challenging stickers. And then you also get to like choose your pronouns. So I grabbed like he, him. And I am dumb, and I didn't realize that on the badge there's like a designated like etched areas that say like your play style, which is where your stickers go. And then there's also a like section where it's like your pronouns. I didn't see them. I just put the stickers at the top of the badge. So like I can't read apparently.
I mean, reading's pretty important when you play Magic, Blake.
Yeah, but you know, the funny thing is that I actually think that worked out for my benefit, because when you have this badge like around your neck, it's like a lanyard, you know? When you have this around your neck and then you're actually sitting in your chair and you're at a table, like a lot, like obviously it depends because everyone has different body types and everyone's different shapes and sizes of your torso. But for me at least, like I'm a tall guy, and even then like the badge is mostly under the like edge of the table, so it was actually a good thing I had the stickers like at the top of my badge, because then they were actually visible to the person across the table. That's just kind of a little side opinion of mine. If I could give feedback to the event, is maybe like put those designated stickers at the top corners of the badge. Anyway,
yeah, then you won't look like an idiot next time.
Yeah. That's the real reason. I just don't want to look like an idiot. Oh, also, when you're getting those stickers, they also give you a wristband that indicates that you have confirmed your vaccination or negative COVID test. And it's this wristband that goes on. And my friend Park, who attended the event with me, friend of the podcast, he like put his a bit too tight. And we realized like, oh, this only tightens like one way. It's like a zip tie, and it just kept getting tighter and tighter, and it's like it was just like constricting his wrist. And so we were later in the night, like we were like eating food, and he's like kind of like low-key panicking, like, Blake, I can't get this off. And so like we're at a restaurant, and he's like, am I just gonna have to be like a psycho who asks for a knife with his meal and like tries to like stab at his wrist as he tries to get this thing off? But similar to a zip tie, he like tightened it so much that he like was able to like pry it somehow, and it suddenly burst open, and he was just like, a wave of relief came over him. So for any of you listeners, if you have one of those like auto tightening wrist things like this Commander event had, leave it a little bit loose and give yourself a little bit of wiggle room, you know? It made me laugh. I was helping him, but I was also laughing. Anywho, I walk into the venue, and the basic layout is that the sides have the card vendors. There were about 5 or 6, I would say. So card vendors on the sides where you can like go up to their plexiglass displays, see all of the cool foils and non-foils and all the other cards that they are willing to sell you. A lot of them will trade cards if you want to liquidate some of your cards, make trades. And then next to the sides is huge, like on the left, there's just a multiple rows of tables for people who just want to like intermingle with each other and form commander pods. And then on the right side is where the designated events were. And again, there's a schedule for all the events. And then in the middle is where all of the artists are. So they had, I believe, like 5 or 6 artists at this event, which is more than the 3 which Commandfest Seattle 2019 had. So that was cool, where A, there was more artists, and B, they were kind of in the center, so you could actually like get to them like fairly easily, whereas like in Commandfest Seattle, they were like literally along the back, where like you really had to go out of your way to get to them and have them do their thing. And then also in the middle, next to the artists, was kind of the area for, how do I say, like special guests. Like these are like content creators and WotC staff who want to identify themselves as being WotC staff while at this event. So that's the general layout. And I will basically say it was similar to Commandfest Seattle, but just more. There were more card vendors. There were more artists. There were more people playing Commander, more tables for playing Commander. There was more space for doing events. This time there were like actual like panels of guests like giving presentations or whatever and doing Q&As, which I think was sort of like one of my critiques and one of the major critiques at the time of Commandfest Seattle 2019, which is like, oh, there's not a whole lot going on here. Yeah, I think overall it was a better experience for that reason, just because there's more things to do. There's just more to do. It feels more like a convention, and people with all sorts of different interests, even people who are interested in Commander have many other interests, and you can probably find something that will engage you. So, like, there's some things that I just was not interested in. Like, I was not interested in a lot of the events, but, like, I attended, for example, one of the panels. So, one of the panels was a Q&A, Wizards, Commander, and Casual Play Design teams, and it had 3 people. It had Gavin Verhey, it had Melissa DeTora, and it had Sarah Mox. And so they talked about, like, literally the people at Wizards, like, making things for Commander, and you could ask them questions. And they talked a little bit about what they were currently doing and what they've been doing, and it was really interesting. You can actually listen to that panel, because you can go to, shout out to Commander Theory Podcast. They recorded that Q&A and another Q&A, and I got to talk with them a little bit. The event organizers weren't like just gonna like host this sort of panel. They asked like, hey, do you have any intention of recording this? The event organizers said like, no. They asked like, well, can we record? And they said, yes, if you get consent forms and have people sign the consent forms, yeah, you can record it. And so they actually recorded like 2 Q&As, I believe. And so again, go to Commander Theory Podcast, whatever platform you're listening to us, you can listen to them. And I was in one of those panels, and it was fun. I liked it.
That's actually really cool. I'm glad that they were able to do that for people who couldn't attend.
So, Guy, if you wanted to listen to one of those panels that I listened to, you could do it.
I think I might tomorrow now.
Yeah. What else? Yeah, I'll just talk about some of the games I had. One of the things I learned from Commandfest Seattle 2019 was to not play too many games, because your mind quickly turns to mush, especially after 3 days of nonstop Commander. So I played a few less games, and my head hurt less. Still, I played some games. So I played one with my friend Park. He played Toshiro Umezawa, which is a mono black commander that has Bushido 1, I believe, and it just is a instant focus deck that just plays kill spell after kill spell, and is a mono black control deck. It's strange, but it's great. And he also piloted red green Omnath, the one that plays lands and burns people.
One of the scariest decks, I think.
Yeah, because you've played against it. So we met up with our friend Zach from the Commander Theory podcast. We jammed a game. He was playing Timna the Weaver and Sengir the Dark Baron. So it's the Sengir with the partner mechanic on it. And it was basically Orzhov 1-drop deck. That's really the theme of it. And we jammed a game and had some fun. Another commander I saw was Savala Heart of the Wilds, and it was, of course, a CEDH version. We all knew that because we had a pre-game discussion, and every time they were about to pop off, someone had interaction to be like, no. And so, that deck is very commander reliant, so, I think Savala eventually costed 7 or 9 mana, if I remember correctly. And it's originally a 3-mana commander.
So, quick question. When you played this game, was it everyone was playing the CEDH deck? Or was it this guy was playing CEDH and all of you guys were playing challenging, just knowing that his deck is meant for higher power play, so you guys just needed to kind of keep him in check?
Oh, no, sorry for the confusion. The first game was just a 3-person pod of myself, Park, and then the Timna plus Sengir.
No, I'm talking about with Savala.
Oh, with Savala.
Did you play Najila against Savala, or what did you play against Savala?
I think that game, I'm trying to remember. Last Commander event, I was really good at remembering all the games I played, but this time my memory's not quite as good. I know that they were playing Savala, and I was playing Gisela. And then Park was playing Toshiro, so that's also why he was able to keep killing Savala in addition to myself.
So you guys had, challenging decks, not competitive decks. You just had to keep this one guy. Okay, got it.
And I will say that, where we had some power level mismatching in some of the time that I was there. Even though we had a pregame discussion, there was still power level mismatching, which is frustrating. It's really frustrating because it wastes pretty much everyone's time. I'm noticing a number of situations where I'll sit down at a table and I'll say, hey, I have decks all across the power levels. What do you want me to play? And they will say, oh, just play whatever you want to play. And it's well, that's not really answering my question. Let's settle on a range here.
Right.
Because what'll happen is, I'll say, hey, what kind of game do we want to play? And they say, oh, just play whatever you want to play. I'm okay, sweet. I'll play Sigarda. It's mostly a sorcery speed deck. There's no infinite combos. If it wins around turn 10. And they're cool. And then they take out their, I kid you not, CEDH deck. And I'm I just internally am okay, bro. And then we play the game, and surprise, surprise, I'm unhappy because like they like won the game, and then they're unhappy because like they weren't even challenged at all. Or yeah, and so it's like whatever.
Right.
So that
like,
happened a number of times. Yeah, and it's frustrating.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, if you guys did decide on that earlier, like, I know you have, like, a Nagila deck that could probably keep up with that.
That's the thing. It's like, yeah, I have CEDH decks, but you didn't communicate that. It's like, I get it. You're trying to, like, be laissez-faire. You're trying to be, like, relaxed. You're like, oh, yeah, like, whatever you want to play, yeah. But it's like, no, if, like, we're not all within the same power level range, like, we're not really... No one's really going to be playing the kind of game that anyone wants to play. I'm preaching to the choir. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, so like another example would be like, there was a pod where it was Scion of the Ur-Dragon. So it was like 5-color CEDH good stuff. Like we're talking one of the OG like CEDH decks where like it had Hermit Druid, but it did have some more modern more current cards like Dockside and Emil the Blessed for win cons. And then so there was that deck, and then there was a mono blue deck. So there was that deck at CEDH level, and then in contrast, the person next to him was a mono blue deck where it's Vol, Candlekeeper, Researcher, and then there's the background of Clan Crafter as the background. I think it was recently played by Josh on the Command Zone podcast for a popular Game Nights episode you may have watched.
Yep.
So yeah, that's and so needless to say, that deck is not CEDH, even if you like put really good cards in it. And so here's just this power level mismatch, because again, the dude was like, hey, just play whatever you want. It's like, okay, well, I'm gonna play my mono blue background and human wizard, and he's like, cool, I'm playing like 5-color Scion. I'm like, okay, this is not gonna be a good game, and we haven't even started playing yet. Okay. So I think one of my takeaways is like, I need to get better at literally saying no and asking them to play a different deck, and if they're not willing to, I need to get better at literally just walking away, because I'm getting to the point where it's like, my time is valuable, I have other things to do with my life. Yeah, like, I spent all the time and money to come here, but it's like, it's not worth it to play a bad game. And I know,
right,
like, I can't remember who says it, but it's like some, like, wizard, like, WotC staff who says, like, it's better to not play Magic than to play a bad game of Magic. So I'm getting to the point where it's like, nah, I'm not going to play this, especially if they're not going to communicate and have a good pre-game discussion. Alright, I'm already ranting. And then I also saw the Beamtown Bullies. That one was cool. That's a really interesting deck that, up until recently, that style of deck hasn't really existed. And it plays a bunch of unique cards that's not really played in any other Commander deck. And it's neat. I like it. Oh, and then one of the other games I played was actually for a CEDH event. So it was basically set up like a tournament structure. Like if you win the first round, you play in round 2. If you win round 2, you go up to round 3. And I think there were 3 rounds in total. So I go to the CEDH event. I play the typical list of Nagila the Blade Blossom. And it's like the typical list you see online by Pongo, but I took out Gilded Drake because I didn't really want to swap cards, like physically in the time, like even though, yeah, because of COVID. And then I also took out Opposition Agent for the same reason. Like I didn't really want to be touching other people's cards, you know?
Okay, now I see what you're saying, and I'm like, they're your cards. You're touching them.
I don't want to be touching my opponent's cards, and I don't want my opponents to be touching my cards physically.
Yes, now I follow. So what did you replace them with? Like, do you have good sideboards?
I think I put back in. Oh, one of them was Abrupt Decay.
Okay.
The other one was what's the blue bounce spell? Chain of Vapor. Those are the 2 I put back in. There's a few cards I could have put in, but those are ones that are like, oh, I don't have to physically touch my opponent's cards with these. So, yeah, that's what I went with. So, I play my CEDH game, and it's, in order to make pods, I get put into a 3-player pod. It is Tymna the Weaver, and it's a Tymna Thrasios deck, and it is the Breakfast Hulk deck. So it uses like Protean Hulk, and then it has a Pattern of Rebirth, and it has Cephalid Illusionist, and the other like mono white core card, so that like mills your library. So it's that. And then there was Rocco Cabaretti Caterer, which is the Naya food chain deck. Right? I don't know if you remember reviewing this card, guy.
Yeah, from Streets of New Capenna.
Yes. So fairly, like, I'm familiar with both of these decks. So I'm like, alright, let's go. And the Tymna Thrasios player has a great personality. Love him. He was awesome. The Rocco player is a little bit quiet, but like they opened up and they were also sweet. So the guys were awesome. So we started playing. Rocco starts playing some Mana Dorks. I start playing Mana Accelerants. I play Nagila. The Thrasios Tymna plays like Thrasios, and they don't even cast Tymna. They were doing other things. They cast Opposition Agent. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so the Rocco player and I look at each other like, all right, we got to get rid of that. So eventually we get rid of the Opposition Agent. And then the turn after that, the Thrasios Tymna player plays a Gilded Drake and takes my Nagila. And I'm like, personally, mentally just like, I didn't want this to happen. Not because of the game, but just like physically touching my cards. Luckily, I put my commanders in hard cases, so I can just like wipe it off later. But I'm like, no, okay. And so we keep playing. I'm just like, like my commander's gone, my Nagila's gone. Now I got to pivot more towards the 99 part of my deck, involving like Ad Nauseam and Thoracle as my win cons now. Unfortunately, Thrasios Tymna player plays Natural Order. I didn't have interaction, and they get out, of course, Seedborn Muse, and then they already have Thrasios in play, so they just start like outvaluing us rapidly, turn after turn after turn. And then I draw a card, and it's the Abrupt Decay that I had switched out, which is for my Gilded Drake, which is so frustrating because I could have either A, Gilded Drake the Seedborn Muse, or have gotten back my commander and started getting back on like the Nagila game plan I had. But I couldn't do that because Abrupt Decay, like I get Abrupt Decay and I wanted to get rid of the Seedborn Muse, but I can't because it's 3 CMC or less. And Seedborn Muse is 5 mana, so I'm like, fuck, like I can't get rid of this. Yeah, basically the Tymna Thrasios player outvalues us. Like I hold up a bunch of interaction, but the turn that they go for the win, they just had like too much, and I couldn't stop them. The Rocco player was playing like stacks pieces, like, you know, Aethersworn Canonist, some Rule of Law effects, but like they weren't quite the hate pieces that were needed to stop the Tymna Thrasios deck, so we lost.
No, that's okay. Sorry, that's pretty rough. I kind of had to like mentally process that. Just you drawing the card that like was the card you needed in the situation you weren't going to play. It's ironic in a way, because like you wouldn't have been touching. Like, if you had Gilded Drake, you would have gotten back your Nagila, right? Yeah,
I think I would have gotten back my commander.
Yeah, so, like, it's ironic that the Gilded Drake you took out wouldn't have been used to even, like, touch other people's cards. It would have been for you to touch your own card.
Yeah.
That is some beautiful irony, but I am also so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but they were fun people, so it was alright. And I played other games. I think my takeaway is just, if you're sitting down to play a game and people are not being as communicative as they need to be, and not like forthcoming about like what their deck does or what power level it is, or if they're like, if you, obviously this comes with being experienced and knowing the format really well, but just like, I'm now to the point of like, yeah, just like stand up and go find other people to play with, because it's not worth playing a bad game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is true.
overall, I would go again. I am kind of curious what the future of Magic events is going to be, because just within the last couple of days or so, I think like it's Magic's 30th year of existing, and they're doing like a special event for it, like Magic 30, I believe it's called. And
Yeah,
right now there's a little bit of discourse as to like how expensive the event is. I think it's in Las Vegas, and it's a certain amount of money more to specifically just be able to play Commander.
Right. I think from what I've seen, the Commander events used to be like the free-to-play area, and then they started having the, like, during normal Magic tournaments when Commander wasn't popular. That's what I mean. Like, it started out so small, and now it's such a big thing that they're like, okay, now we're gonna like try and profit off this. That's the issue there.
Yeah, so we'll see. I know people are kind of talking about the cost is really the main focus. Like, not only having to travel to whatever location it is, getting a hotel, like possibly for multiple nights, the food that you're getting from like restaurants or local grocery stores, and then actually like the money to actually get into the event, all the money you probably want to spend buying cards, possibly, or entering events. All that adds up pretty quickly into pretty easily at least $1,000. And all of this depends like whether you live close to the event or not, but it's hard for people to save up that amount of money, and even for invested Commander players, that's still a bit of a tough sell, I'd say. Like, there's a reason I haven't gone to Vegas for certain events. It's because like I can't afford the plane ticket and the lodging, really, and so that's why I've always just done local events here in Seattle or Bellevue, which is close to where I live.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel tempted because it's like somewhat close to me. Like, it is easily within a day's drive. I think like 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not terrible, but yeah, just the fact that it is in Las Vegas, though, like, okay, yeah, my car fare would be a little less, because, like, I'd probably, like, bring someone, maybe the things, not so bad, but then, yeah, Vegas itself is just expensive, so I'm like, oh god, no. So, likely will not actually be going to that. Now that I know how expensive it is, I, like, contemplated it when they first announced it. I was like, oh, cool. But, of course, like, yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. One of these days, we need to attend the same event and just be together in person.
Hopefully soon. But, it is, I guess, it was interesting for me as, to kind of, like, wrap up with some final thoughts on, like, the future. 'Cause, like, COVID's still quite a big thing after...
It's still happening to people.
Right. It's 2+ years. We've started to return. Just being in close spaces, I know, like... hygiene has always been an important want from people. What am I trying to say? Because, like, I've been to Yu-Gi-Oh! Events, certainly, that have had a lot of people, and, like, it's not the most cleanly event around, like, you're in very close spaces. So, like, I'm wondering, too, like, how will Magic try and adapt for future with COVID as a concern? Or if it will just continue to, like, be the same kind of format it is in terms of, like, space.
I know for a fact that certain Commandfests have taken the pandemic seriously. Like Commandfest Bellevue that I went to. It was nice. I felt safe. And then other locations, I won't say the name of them, have not taken it as seriously. And have made at least a portion of people express online how they did not feel safe.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be a interesting thing going forward. I think another question is whether the event organizers will continue to kind of expand. I think, in my opinion, it's necessary where they need to expand, like, the panels, the guests, like, the vendors, the artists that are brought in. And I think going from Commandfest Seattle 2019 to Commandfest Bellevue 2022, so the 3-year difference, I've noticed a difference, and it feels like it's moving in a positive direction, the direction that I think is good.
Yeah, because you went to, like, one of the very first events that they ever had, if not, like, the first one.
Yeah, and everyone complained about, one of the major complaints at that time was like, oh, this feels small, like, why wasn't this a bigger venue? Why weren't there more people? And it's like, well, this is, like, the first kind of Commander event of its time. Like, the event organizers want to start small and make sure it's a success, and then, like, go bigger in the following years, versus going too big, having it be a failure, like, financially, and not being able to recoup those finances and then be able to finance future ones in the going forward. So, like, there's a reason to that. And so I think because they were cautious earlier on, now they're seeing there's financial viability to this. We can expand all, like, what they can host and who they can bring, and I'm optimistic. Maybe I shouldn't be, but I'm optimistic.
Glad we're ending on a positive note.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap it up here, just because, like, you know, this was just kind of meant for us to be a chill episode. Well, we just did the treasure episode, that's out, and I personally think that's, like, one of the best episodes we've ever done, so go listen to that.
That was fun.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good episode. And then what's next is we are doing our first of these, like, quarter announcements that we kind of talked about a little bit. So to, like, prep people, it is basically a summary of what happened in Q3 of the year for Magic, mostly focused on Commander stuff. So we'll talk a lot about Dominaria United, because a lot of that will have come out. We won't do, like, a full set review, but we'll, like, be talking about notable cards. We will be going over, like, the quarter 3 announcement from the rules committee. We'll talk a little bit about some recent changes to Magic. I guess I didn't get to talk about it because, so being at San Diego Comic-Con, I was, you know, in the close proximity-ish, depending on how you want to define close, to Mark Rosewater's panel when it went off, which talked about stickers. Being black borders. So, like, I wish I actually was there. Oh my god, that would have been crazy to be at, like, the event where they announced stickers.
Guy!
I know. Like, what a bombshell kind of thing to drop at a non-magic related event.
I was not ready for that. Oh, I'm still not ready. God.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that a little next episode. And then I think there's probably, like, a couple other things. Just, like, it's just basically us giving, like, high level thoughts, getting to dig in deep where we want to, instead of, like, having to do 3 episodes in a row of just, or not even 3, I counted it recently, we had 6 episodes in a row of, like, set reviews, and it's like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was too tiring. It was just too much of the same. Like, I love talking about Magic, I love talking about Commander, and I love talking about sets, but in the end, I feel like they don't age well. like only 20 minutes of those podcasts are really worth listening to. Unless you really just like to listen to Guy and I blab about Commander.
I mean, I think when I go back and listen, I do listen in on some of the set reviews. Not because I'm like, oh yeah, what good cards did I miss? It's more like, what were our really bad takes
initial thoughts
at the time? Yeah. Like, I was like, oh yeah, the Red Fury's the worst of the cycle. And I'm like, well, no, that's actually way not true, Guy. It's much better than you thought it was. So I'm
You want to go back and see what our initial reaction to Dockside was?
I think I did recently, actually, and
I
think it was appropriately, like, in line for the time. I don't think we quite realized how powerful.
Ooh, let's go back to Thassa's Oracle.
I think that one's also. Oh God! I did not listen to that one. I think. Yeah.
Just don't go back to Battle Bond.
I mean, Battle Bond. Oh yeah, Battle. It is kind of listening to like a podcast where we did Battle Bond. We like reviewed an influential set on Commander. But like, yeah, okay, you get it. All right.
Yeah.
I've been going on for too much. So expect that next. That's what I was trying to say. The Q3 update. Anyway, we are the Wizard Staff. You can listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube, and anywhere else you listen to your podcast. Make sure to leave a like and review. You can follow us on the Facebook, Instagram, and the Twitter at WizardStaff101. Send us an email at the WizardStaff101@gmail.com if you want to bitch and complain about how stupid we are. Thank you for listening. We hope you have a great night. Peace.
Peace.